Welcome to the Tattoo Traveler. Welcome to San Francisco. Now, when we did the full video on San Francisco, which was really cool, if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's on the channel. We got a lot of comments, folks saying, Todd, you should go to Alcatraz, do a whole video on Alcatraz. And I thought to myself, great idea. So here we are at Pier 33 in San Francisco, Alcatraz landing. We're gonna hop on the ferry and we are going to explore this fascinating piece of American history. Welcome to Alcatraz. There it is, sitting 1.25 miles off the coast of San Francisco. Alcatraz Island was originally a fortress protecting San Francisco against foreign invasions. It was converted to a prison in 1934, and those 5 words you just read pretty much sum it up. Nothing can be worth this. How about this? Any convict who even attempts to escape when recaptured will wear a ball and chain for 3 months. Even Al Capone said, it looks like Alcatraz has got me licked. It was not the place you wanted to be. And here at Alcatraz Island, you can hop on a ferry and travel across the bay. It's a beautiful ride and just explore. Break the rules, you go to prison. Break the prison rules, you go to Alcatraz. Before you board the ferry, here's a scaled down model of the entire island. You'll be able to see the rooms that the tour gives you access to once you're on the island. Here's the link where you can buy tickets, and it is highly advised you get them as far in advance as possible. These tours sell out pretty quickly. Some of the weaponry from when this was a military fortress. And these are just really cool things you can walk around and check out while you wait for your ferry to board. The ferries depart about every 35 to 40 minutes, and they begin running at 8:40 in the morning, and the final run from the dock here over to Alcatraz is 3:50 in the afternoon. So you can incorporate that into your tourist schedule here in San Francisco. Allow yourself about 2.5 hours for the total experience. That'll give you plenty of time to really see and absorb everything. At the time of the making of this video, tickets over to Alcatraz Island cost about $60 plus handling fees, and that includes access to the prison itself. And once you board the ferry, it's about a 10 to 15 minute ride over to the island. You can sit here on the lower deck, you can grab a seat on the middle deck, climb to the very top. Really great views. Gets a little windy, but worth it. This entire tour is very visual, very powerful. You see the island approaching there and Golden Gate Bridge off to the left. So beautiful with the fog hovering just above. San Francisco skyline. I learned from some locals here that they actually have a name for the fog here in San Francisco. They call it Carl. I don't know what the significance is behind that, but Carl was present. As we approached the docks, I tried to put myself in the mindset of the inmates who were being brought here for the first time. They had only heard the rumors about how tough things were here at Alcatraz, and many of them knew that due to the length of their sentences, they would probably never leave this island again. The first building you see here, these were the apartments for staff members of Alcatraz. If you worked at the prison, you had a choice of either living here on the island, which 65% of them chose to do, or over in San Francisco. Now, here on the island, it was a lot cheaper. Obviously, you can't beat the views, shorter commute to work. And I will tell you about the protest that happened here on the island in 1969, but your first stop off the ferry is a short orientation.
Place where no one wanted to be here, where they were literally trying to leave and escape, and y'all just came and paid $60, so, there's easier ways to go to prison than this. You're in the United States, so it incarcerates people at a vast rate.
After the orientation, you can grab a map. It's $1. Please pay using the honor system there. And then you're free to roam the island. Now, about that protest, in 1969, it lasted 19 months. The prison had been closed and the island had become surplus federal land. Here's the old schoolhouse where children who lived on the island attended class. Under the Treaty of Laramie, all out-of-date or abandoned surplus federal land was to be returned to indigenous people. So in 1969, 89 Native Americans and some supporters came over to the island and set up camp. They were not going to leave. They protested, saying, "We want our land back." And many at the time believed the land should be returned to them. They were here for 19 months before the protest was forcibly ended by the United States government. We're on the other side of that apartment building now, and you can see how some of the units had horrible views, looking out at nothing but a brick wall, while others had gorgeous views of the water. So naturally, some people loved living here, others not so much. Talk about a view. There's the main cell house, and we'll make our way up to it. It's a gradual climb. Great way to get your steps in. And once you reach the top, you will have ascended the equivalent of 13 stories. But if you need a little assistance, they do have a tram service that allows you and one guest or family member to ride to the top, making it doable for everyone. Now, this is cool. This is the morgue, and it was used primarily when this was a military fortress, not so much when it was a prison. Prisoners who passed away here, their bodies were shipped back to San Francisco. But this is the inside of, that table, inside of the morgue. Now we're going to make our way into the main prison. Alcatraz opened on August 11th, 1934. And this is the door. This is where brand new prisoners were ushered into the prison straight from the ferry. Now, new prisoners were called Fresh Fish. Horrible name. And their first stop was right here. This is where you would be issued your clothing. They called them Alcatraz blues because everything was blue. Shoes against the back wall, towels and shaving gear. Zoom in a little bit. There's the clothing. Everyone dressed alike. Very, very little individuality, if any. You were essentially a number once you got to Alcatraz. Yeah, no privacy here at Alcatraz. And I found this interesting. The showers here at the prison originally had stalls, but they were removed for the safety of the inmates. Prisoners were getting jumped, stabbed, beaten in the shower stalls, so they took them out. Now, the showers here at Alcatraz, and I'll tell you why in a moment, but the showers here were very hot, very steamy, and that is unusual for prison showers. Normally, they're not that hot, but there is a reason behind that, which I think you'll be intrigued by. Once Fresh Fish received their Alcatraz blues and were showered, they were brought here, one floor up from where we just were. This is general population. Alcatraz could hold up to 336 prisoners at any given time, but they only reached that capacity once. Normally, it lingered around 250, 275 inmates. Always one man to a cell. The cells are 5 feet wide, 9 feet long, 7 feet high. Can you imagine? Shortly after they were placed in their cells, which consisted only of a cot, a sink, toilet, a couple of shelves on the wall, they'd be given a list of the rules like you see right here on the mattress. And the first thing it said was you are entitled to food, shelter, clothing, and medical attention. Anything else you get is a privilege. So it was always in an inmate's best interest to remain in what was called good standing. One of those privileges being the ability to listen to the radio. They would insert a little set of headphones into this wall jack. Each cell had this wall jack, and they could listen to baseball games, music, which certainly helped pass the time. Now, Times Square is another name for the dining hall. And of all the rooms that we're going to see in this video, this room The dining hall was always considered to be the most dangerous. This is where the guards were most vulnerable because you had 200 prisoners at a time in here, 3 meals a day. Meals were limited to 20 minutes in length. The food here at Alcatraz was considered to be the best in the federal prison system. Cereal, fruit, coffee for breakfast, meat, veggies, fresh bread for lunch and dinner. And to keep everyone in check, tear gas canisters were installed throughout the dining hall. Fortunately, they were never used. Now, here's why the food was so good here at Alcatraz. Authorities felt that by giving them such luxurious meals, comparatively speaking, they'd fatten them up a little bit, make them unfit to attempt escape. And that takes me back to the point I made about the showers, if you recall, how hot they were. They felt that hot showers would make the prisoners' bodies unaccustomed to the cold water surrounding the prison, and they wouldn't want to jump in it. That water hovers around 55, 60 degrees. The average swimming pool is about 78 degrees. We spoke of privileges earned. One of those privileges was yard time. This was the yard. This was pretty much the only exercise prisoners got to come out here and walk around, get some fresh air. The game of bridge was really popular amongst the inmates here at Alcatraz, almost to the point of becoming an obsession for many of them. And authorities knew that if they fed that obsession, the prisoners would be on their best behavior because they wouldn't want to miss out on the opportunity to play bridge. They also wanted the opportunity to work. Prisoners could work in the kitchen, in the laundry room. They could tend to the docks or burn trash, and they would earn anywhere from 5 cents an hour to 12 cents an hour. I'm sure you can hear that wind. So now I'm going to take you back inside and we're going to explore DBlock. This is where the worst of the worst were housed. These were the bad boys. Al Capone spent some time here. The famous Birdman, Robert Stroud, who was convicted of killing a prison guard. There are 3 tiers here in DBlock. And prisoners here in DBlock, they did not leave their cells. They were locked up 24 hours a day. Now, Al Capone didn't spend a lot of time here. He was mainly in B block when he wasn't in the medical ward. There's Robert Stroud there. Many past prisoners have said they were terrified of the Birdman. D-Block is also where you'll be able to visit solitary confinement, otherwise known as the Hole, and I couldn't resist going inside. You'll notice the headphones I'm wearing. Those are the headphones for the audio tour, which I highly recommend. It's included in the price of your ticket. And such a trip being inside that solitary confinement cell. But the audio tour is narrated by a couple of former guards and an inmate or two. So it's really cool to hear the stories of Alcatraz by those who spent some time here. This is the library, much bigger than I anticipated. Prisoners who earned the privilege could come here and choose from over 1,500 books. They could subscribe to approved magazines, even take correspondence courses. All the more reason to mind your P's and Q's. Here's visitation, 4 visitation windows for prisoners who did receive visitors, and there weren't that many of them. I was surprised to learn. A lot of the inmates here were completely separated from their families and friends. All right, let's talk the Great Escape. Many tried, 36 to be exact, but not many succeeded, if any. 7 inmates were shot attempting to escape, 2 drowned. But what about these 3 guys? Frank Morris, John Anglin, and his brother Clarence Anglin, all convicted of bank robbery, kidnapping, and various other crimes. As the story goes, late at night on June 11th, 1962, maybe early in the morning on June 12th, guards discovered these papier-mâché heads resembling those of Frank and the Anglin brothers. They also discovered that hole chiseled out, there's a better look, chiseled out beneath their sink. The 3 inmates had been chopping away at those holes for up to 6 months using spoons they'd stolen from the kitchen. When the holes were big enough, they slid through into the utility hallway and wearing inflated vests and jumping on a raft they made from stolen raincoats, escaped. There's no shortage of theories as to what happened next. Authorities like to say there's no way they could have survived those cold waters. Surely they would have drowned or died of hypothermia. While others believe it's completely feasible that that raft would have gotten them safely to San Francisco. Another theory is that they were picked up by a waiting boat and taken to freedom. A nephew of the Anglin brothers says these are his two uncles. This photograph was taken in South America in 1975, 13 years after the prison break. Guess we'll never know. Your trip to Alcatraz will get you thinking, make you ask some questions, but most of all, it'll make you feel grateful that you never had to spend any time on the rock. Shoot, closest I'll ever get is my Alcatraz coffee mug. How great is this? No shortage of souvenirs to pick up on your way out. The gift shop is fully stocked. T-shirts, hats, so much more. And if you're like me, you're just not ready for your visit to end, well, you can take a little piece of history home with you with your very own chunk of the rock. Well, by the spring of 1963, Alcatraz had become pretty run down. And at that point in history, the United States government was putting more emphasis on rehabilitation rather than punishment. So in March of that year, the final inmates left Alcatraz Island, and she was locked up for good. Hope you enjoyed this tour. Really interesting stuff. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to this channel. Check us out on DBTV. Watch us on Roku and Smart TV and Amazon Fire. And grab your brand new Tattooed Traveler t-shirt, hoodie, luggage tag, all kinds of great merchandise just for you. I'm Todd Newton, and until we meet again a little further down the road, travel safely.